How you doing, people? This is the Rubin Report, and I am Florida gubernatorial candidate Dave Rubin, and I have two guests with me. We just found out we're all wearing the same hair product. That's right, Jayar Jackson and Hank Chen. I am very excited about the show. And might I say before we start, I don't know that we've ever had a panel that looks sharper. I feel good about everybody's style today.
The only problem is I'm not wearing a jacket, so now I feel like I'm the underdressed.
But
you're not.
This is so fly, though, this tie.
Yeah, and you're in purple, so you're supporting
Yes.
You're supporting the bullies or you're supporting the other people? I forget.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
It's not important. All right, here we go. So the NBA season started last night, and Charles Barkley, former NBA player who's now an analyst on TNT, and of course always outspoken, he's been making the rounds on the radio. He was on CBS Radio in Philly and had some interesting comments. Let's take a listen.
Well, unfortunately, as I tell my white friends, we as black people, we're never going to be successful, not because of you white people, because of other black people. When you're black, you have to deal with so much crap in your life from other black people. It's a dirty, dark secret. I'm glad it's coming out. It comes out every few years. I wrote a big chapter in my book about it, to be honest with you. I said, when young black kids, when they do well in school, the loser kids tell them, oh, you're acting white. The kids who speak intelligently, they tell them you're acting white. So it's a dirty, dark secret in the black community. One of the reasons we're never going to be successful as a whole because of other black people. And for some reason, we are brainwashed to think if you're not a thug or an idiot, you're not black enough. If you go to school, make good grades, speak intelligent, and don't break the law, you're not a good black person. And it's a dirty, dark secret, Anthony.
Okay, so we've heard this kind of thing from other black people. Bill Cosby has done a bunch on this kind of stuff. Now, JR, according to my paperwork here, you are black. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for my...
Your research is correct.
My researchers. Okay, very good. Now, as a black person, obviously you represent all black people, and everything you say will be taken by white people as gospel from the black community. Do you agree with his sentiment? Do you disagree? What's your basic take on what he's saying?
Again, the reason why this is always tough is because you can never do this in black and white terms, which is exactly what Barkley did. That's where he runs into trouble. And your research may have also told you, I experienced this growing up. Because, first of all, Charles, it's speak intelligently. But
right, Charles should be the last one when it comes to words and getting the language correctly. Yeah.
I mean, there's a little thing, okay, which, by the way, big deal. I don't care that he said that incorrectly. So the thing is, I experienced it growing up. I was at high school where I had black friends, and then there was this divide. I grew up in St. Louis, so I know the Ferguson thing I've experienced, man. Those cops are that way, and there's no lie. But anyway, St. Louis was, and probably still is, a divided city. The black kids that lived in the city, we called them the city kids, literally, and they would be bussed out through the desegregation program. And when I was one of the county kids, they called us county brownies. The black kids who lived in the county were on the white folks. So there was, I got the, oh, you think you're so smart. Oh, you white boy. All that stuff, right? Now, what he's missing somehow, I'm not sure what experiences Barkley had, is that they don't want you to not succeed, but there's this air sometimes about other folks that think they're better than the ones who have less opportunities and now are seen as, and by the kids who were bussed in were looked down upon as thugs, dangerous, scary, not smart. So when you already have that every day, you sometimes embrace it just to feel a little bit empowered. Yeah. And at the other time, you come after the people who you think are looking down on you, like, no, you're not gonna look down on me. You think you're so fucking smart. So I think that's where the sentiment comes from. And the idea is not to bring down black folks. And so when they would get bad grades and things like that, it's almost a, yeah, whatever, dude, because it's embarrassing. And when the kids do get good grades, which happens because kids are kids, white kids, black kids, Asian kids, anybody, when they get good grades, they're happy about it. So people were almost surprised when one of these kids who would dog you out for getting good grade, when they got one, they'd go, ha ha. They would celebrate it openly in class.
Yeah, all right, well, okay, so you give me a lot to work with there. So first off, when we've done topics like this, like Ferguson and this kind of thing, I always say that I often book the show, and we book the show weeks in advance, and we don't book to topics. So occasionally, we'll be talking about something like Ferguson, and I don't have a black panelist. I happen to have a black panelist today, or we'll be talking about something with some other racial component, and we don't have someone of that race. So before I let you jump in, Hank, one other thing to you here. Can white people discuss this without, if you hadn't been sitting here and Hank and I and another white guy, let's say, were sitting here, could we talk about this with it being okay?
You can always talk about it. And by the way, I encourage it. But the thing is, if you don't have a certain perspective, and it's not to say, here, black person, talk for me because I don't know anything, but just here, maybe give me your perspective. I mean, again, there's other things that I don't have the background on, that I don't know anything about, how Asians grew up or how gay people grew up. I don't know any of that stuff. So if I can have my perceptions, and I think I should be allowed to throw out my ideas, and if they're wrong, you can tell me, hey, you know what, that's wrong. And what I shouldn't do, which is what a lot of people do to black folks, is you're just complaining. Hey, why don't you just stop? What you should do is listen, finally. And the problem, again, the beginning of what Barkley said is where his problem came. I tell my white friends, what are you telling your white friends for, how horrible and stupid black people are? And if you think the black community is a bunch of thugs and wants everyone else to be a bunch of thugs, you should probably address that to the black community, not to your white friends who have, sounds like, have the propensity to think, oh, they're all thugs, they're all scary, I can't believe he did that. So when you're becoming that, I have this one black friend who tells me my racism is valid. Yeah. Barkley has become that, and that's why that's a bad thing to do.
All right, well, also according to my research here, Hank, you are Asian.
Sometimes.
Is that correct?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
And you're also gay, is that's correct also?
Nights and weekends.
Okay, so you have two, well, I guess technically Asian's probably not a minority in the world, right? But
we kind of are.
Yeah?
Don't you get me started, Dave Rubin.
Okay. Do you find this kind of thing at all in the Asian community? Is there an element of that, like don't talk about us outside of the community, that kind of thing?
I will say in my experience with the various groups that I am a member of, that you will find discrimination and segregation within each of these groups. Yeah. So I remember, in Chinatown a few years ago in New York, we were just walking by the Chinese market, and you get the loud merchants yelling at you, trying to hawk their wares. And when I remember my mother walking by and just muttering, low class, right? And that was a there was a little bit of disdain in the way that she said it, and I think similarly from the merchants' end, they're quite aggressive with whoever comes through, because that's what they do. So that's just an example about how race doesn't really matter in that context, but it's just kind of I feel like it's a classist and a status thing.
It's a class thing or a human thing. They're looking at you like, oh, those hoity-toity Asians, you're looking at them, or perceived to be looking at them as uneducated.
Now, there's divisions within the community. You'll still say, well, I'm not that kind of Asian, I'm not that kind of black person.
Totally. We see that all the time. We even see that now. I mean, this has been a penultimate year, I feel like, for Asian representation in the media, with Fresh Off the Boat coming out, as well as John Cho being the romantic lead in Selfie. The first time, I think, Margaret Cho's show was 20 years ago. And Margaret Cho, her show failed, not because it wasn't a great sitcom. It was an okay sitcom, but okay sitcoms have made it. It was because she didn't get the support of the community who thought that she was too fat, not represented, not funny, and
she was too edgy also. Tattoos, and she was openly bi, which probably didn't help ABC 20 years ago, and all that kind of stuff.
And I tell people, I tell people are like, well, I don't think Selfie's a great show. I said, I don't care. Listen to me, Asian to Asian, you better support this goddamn show, you understand? You better tweet about John Cho, you better post about this show, because you know what? Not everything Tyler Perry does is amazing either, but guess what? Those people come out and they pay that money, they support, they hoop and holler, and that's why he and every black person on his show still has a job. So I don't care if Selfie's not the best show to come out this season. You fucking support that shit.
Supporting your community, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
That's what I tell people,
I hate to even ask this question, because I don't want the world to be this way, but do you guys think that at the end of the day, still so much of what goes on in our dialogue in the country is still about race? Because even though we'd all like to believe we're beyond that stuff, whenever they show you a poll, and we're going to do some stuff on polls in a little bit, but whenever they show you a poll, a CNN poll, a Pew poll, anything, they go, well, white people, 80% of white people believe this, and 40% of black people believe this, and that it's still so racially divided.
It's
and that's still
Fox, because Fox likes to stir.
Fox is it's Fox.
It's all Fox polls, right?
How much of it do you think is actually true? Because I'd hate to believe that that's the truth, and I always want to believe that we're actually voting on principles and all that, but that it obviously still exists at some level.
It affects the way people approach it. You almost want to go into, like, when people answer these poll questions, they answer it under that light of thinking, how's this going to come out? It's like self-reporting. When people say, how often do you do this? You don't say it always this honestly, because you're like, I don't want to look bad. You just want to go out and say it the right way. You want to represent who they're dividing us
Well,
along those
that's
lines.
always the best one, when they do a poll on racism and they ask people, I mean, literally they get to their face and ask them, how racist are you? Well, generally people are going to tone down the racism a little bit, I think, when the poller is right in front of your face. How much of it do you think?
I think that this nation, I think many of our conversations center around race or have, or a racial controversy is inferred. I think we had that issue prior to Obama being president, and I think that has been at the forefront since he has been in office. I feel like any from what I've seen, and you know, I know I look young, but I've survived a few presidencies, and I feel like when it comes to news articles about Obama, there's always this underlying current of because he's black or because he's not black or because and I feel like he just has to work and fight that much harder, and because of his presidency that has trickled down to so many other areas of our culture, from media, from finance, from all the politics that happened with Ferguson and stuff like that. I mean, I feel it working in entertainment, and I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
So.
All right, well, I will end the segment with this just by saying Barkley's actually, I think, a pretty great broadcaster, and we need more people, whether you agree with them or not, to say what they think. And then, we have free speech, and then everyone can fight them on it and let it go. So there you go. And speaking of free speech, so you guys probably heard already a couple weeks ago, Sam Harris and Ben Affleck were on Real Time with Bill Maher, and they got into a debate about Islamophobia, and Ben Affleck basically called Bill Maher and Sam Harris racist. I did a video breakdown of it, which we'll annotate to right here. But now Berkeley University has put up a petition on change.org where they don't want Bill Maher to be their commencement speaker, so we've got some text from there. Bill Maher is a blatant bigot and racist who has no respect for the values UC Berkeley students stand for. In a time where climate is a priority for all on campus, we cannot invite an individual who himself perpetuates a dangerous learning environment. Bill Maher's public statements on various religions and cultures are offensive, and his dangerous rhetoric has found its way into our campus communities. So again, I did a video about this, and I hope you guys will click it and take a look. Now, Bill Maher, I don't know if you've seen his documentary, Religulous. He hates all religions. He has been very clear. He hates religion. He has stood for every liberal principle. This is a guy who has a 30-year career standing for pretty much everything liberal. And until Ben Affleck basically called him a racist, and no one thought Bill Maher was a racist. So I think this is a little disingenuous by UC Berkeley. And I have a couple other thoughts on that, but I'm going to let you guys chime in first. Is this just bad for free speech? Just removing Bill Maher for a second, that this is happening all over the place. We keep hearing about this, where there are commencement speeches from different people, Condi Rice, all over the political map, where suddenly the students don't want to hear from anyone that they disagree with. Yeah,
it is bad for free speech. I think they need to suck it up. But I also, look, it's Berkeley. I am not surprised someone started a petition. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, in a way, I actually would. If I were a professor, I'd be like, yeah, petition. This is exercise your right to be heard and whatever. But on the flip side, I was raised religious, and I am no longer a supporter of Christianity. However, I will have to say, look, I think Bill Maher has a point when it comes to he's like, you're going to attack, it's like, of all the things that I've said and done, you're going to come at me with this one thing.
With religion, which he has attacked all, the big three, the whole movie was about the big three.
But this one is specifically about Islam too, and I'm just saying, well, people have disagreed with speakers with religious backgrounds or speakers of other areas. It seems a little hypocritical that you're going to go after him for this one thing. And I feel like any commencement speaker you get for any college, you're going to find something that you can disagree with. You're going to find something that the entire student body doesn't 100% agree with. Something.
Right. So I know a lot of people would argue that Bill Maher has been the gold standard for liberal values. He has always fought for liberal values. He, and has also stood for progressive values. He wants our troops. He always talks about, we have 30,000 troops in Germany. What the hell are they doing there? He wants our government to be smaller. He wants our politicians to be more accountable. All the things that liberals always talk about: women's rights, gay rights, et cetera, et cetera. Now I get it. He got into some hot water here, but I only see this as bad.
I think where the frustration has come from is because of that line, or at least his history of being such a lib. Yeah. This big fat lib, and he's always standing for the right things. And honestly, I don't think he's always believed it. I think he's playing a role. And I think this thing has been big enough.
Whoa, an entertainer playing a role? No, I can't believe it.
Yeah, he's like, let me like fit my way, to take this role
Sell some books.
and do what I can, because this is a moneymaker.
Yeah.
And it has been. It's been great for him. But I don't think it's been a secret that this guy has some, I guess, unfounded feelings and thoughts about people. I mean, the latest thing that just came out. I mean, he's decided to chime in about Mike Brown and Ferguson. That guy was acting like a thug. He wasn't such a nice, chill guy. He sounded a lot like, who's the old talk show with the Clear Eyes commercials and the guy, the boring...
The old guy with the Clear Eyes commercials. Give me something, Clear Eyes commercials.
He's a comedian, Ben Stein.
Yeah.
Ben Stein came out and said, oh, yeah, you know, Michael Brown was acting like a scary, big, scary guy that he was, because he's just his size and his blackness.
Yeah.
Talked about how scary he was. Bill Maher said very similar things. This is like this week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a surprise, and people have known this for a while. Certain communities, maybe they know it more than others, but it doesn't catch the attention. This caught the attention, and now it's happening to him more. And by the way, I think it's good that people are held accountable for things they said. It never happened before because we didn't have this internet thing where everything you said gets taken down and memorized and reposted, and everyone reads and goes, damn, I would have never known he said that unless you told me that.
Yeah.
So in a liberal bastion like Berkeley, you can't be too surprised it's going to happen. If Cenk Uygur goes to try and speak at Liberty University, they're going to go, get this guy the fuck out of here.
Liberty would not be having any of that. Okay, so even if, all right, so if, let's say I'll grant what you're saying, that he said some things that, yeah, I mean, he's a comedian and comedians are supposed to push limits. He used to host a show called Politically Incorrect. The guy is trying to be politically incorrect, right? But what does this say about the universities, just college itself? College is supposed to be the most open-minded place. You know, you're supposed to learn all the stuff that you take into the real world. Guess what? There are real bigots in the real world. There are real racists in the real world. So if you don't allow these people to speak, and that's why I brought up the Condi Rice thing, because it's happening on both sides. Condi Rice is on the right. There's universities are saying we don't want to hear from her, and Bill Maher's on the left. They're saying we don't want to hear from him. It's like, guess what, you guys, when you get your jobs a week later, you know what I mean? When you graduate and you have a job a week later, you're going to experience far worse shit. If you think Bill Maher's a bigot, wait till you get to the real world. So what can we do to make college more tolerant? Because it doesn't strike me as tolerant anymore.
If the colleges remove them as speakers, then we have a problem. Like I said, everyone's allowed to express their opinion.
Well, they have been removing speakers.
We don't
know what's going to happen with this, but Condi Rice got the boot from that one. There's been plenty of other examples of this kind.
He's a conservative commentator. He's been taken away from two of them. Another one of these old, he looks exactly like Ben Stein.
We're doing like Jeopardy with you. I have to think of the names of the people you're talking about.
He works at ABC, he does the Sunday morning shows, but he got booted from 2 commencement speeches.
I know
so what is it about college? Because when I was in college, and maybe it was the amount of weed that I smoked, I was pretty tolerant, and it has transcended itself into my adult life. But what is it about college now? Why don't they think, because I would guess that these Berkeley kids probably agree, and this is I think what you're saying before, I would guess that they agree 95% with Bill Maher. So if they don't agree, I don't agree with myself 100%. So they're picking 5% and saying, I don't even want to hear from him. And so why are they so intolerant? What happened to free speech and tolerance?
I mean, and I think it's what point out when this was brought up, I believe in one of the articles I read, they said there's free speech, everyone gets to have it. We don't not believe he gets to say what he wants, but we shouldn't give him a megaphone to say it. I mean, there's the guys who stand outside of football games and hold the John 3:16s and then yell through a megaphone. They can do it. But if someone says, hey guy, come here. Let me have you speak to the whole group of graduating students. People are going to go, yeah, he gets to say it, but don't put him in front of me and give him a voice to spew whatever it is he's going to say.
Yeah.
I understand it, and it could get out of control. I just don't think it's out of control yet.
Yeah, okay, my last thought on this is I grew up in a world where comedians were supposed to be edgy. They're supposed to find the line and they're supposed to cross it. I have this fear that the left is starting to eat its own. You know what I mean? Yes, if you agree with Bill Maher on 95%, but then you don't want to hear him because of 5%, guess what? One day they're going to turn on you too. You know what I mean?
Like 5% is harmful, I think, is the problem.
But that's perceived as harmful. Perceived as harmful.
But isn't that the point of free speech? We're all going to say shit. Yeah, there's no answer. There's no answer, I suppose. Anyway, we'll see what happens. They have not officially decided to go with this yet or not. Okay, let's move on. Voters are angry. Did you know we have an election coming up next week? That's right, midterm elections. That's where pretty much nobody votes, and usually the incumbent president, his party gets banged up, and that's what it looks like is going to happen right now. So CNN and ORC had a new poll out on some numbers, and let's take a look. 53% of Americans disapprove of Obama's job performance. That actually doesn't strike me as that high, because considering how much shit he's getting right now and how much stuff is going on between ISIS and Ebola and everything else, that actually seems right. 30% are very angry. 38% are somewhat angry. It's a fine line between those two. 31% express no anger. Those are the people that are on prescription drugs. And 42% agree with Obama on issues that matter most to them, while 55% say they disagree. All right, so as I said, these numbers actually don't seem that polarizing to me, considering how polarizing everything seems in our political discourse these days. And yes, the incumbents party usually gets crushed. If you look at Drudge every day, it sounds like the Republicans are going to storm in and crush everybody. Do you want to make any predictions a week before the midterms? You got anything? You're reading this stuff all day. I see what you're doing out there.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's always hard to predict, and this is where the world's changing. Again, we talked about polls earlier and how people will express what they think is going to look a certain way and what they'll say, but no one knows what they do when they get into the ballot box. And also, with this, I think younger voters, when and if they do come out, they're not going to tell you what they're going to say beforehand, or they're going to, whatever anger they have expressed towards Obama, whether it be left or right, we're going to assume, oh, conservatives are these 53% that hate him because they want more conservative values, and then the rest that actually, the 30% that say they love everything about him must be such libs. I think a large percentage of his distrust and the dislike for Obama comes from the left that is upset that he didn't go liberal enough.
Well, that's a lot of...
No one's going to write that down in that poll. They're going to say, oh, the country's against him because he's totally not conservative enough because he's a Democrat.
Right.
It's too black and white.
Yeah, you know, that's actually a great point, because everyone obviously talks about conservatives not liking Obama, but it's the liberals that are actually really angry at him for legitimate reasons for not doing what he said he was going to do. The conservatives didn't want him to do what he said he was going to do, and he didn't do it. I think that made sense. I think there was some sense in there. People don't vote, right, Hank? I mean, do you vote? Do you vote? Please tell me you vote.
I vote.
You vote? Okay, good.
I mean, don't vote every term, but I vote when I can. I vote when it counts.
You vote every couple years.
I vote whenever the View tells me to go and vote. All right. I don't do the. Maybe I do every 4 years. I don't care.
But Hank, they always say this is the most important election ever. Don't they say every time this is the most important one in your lifetime? You know, in LA here, our mayor Eric Garcetti, I think he got 13% of the vote. And he became our mayor because nobody votes. So that means 13% of the constituents voted for the guy who's in charge of our city. And then we wonder why there's potholes blowing up all over the place. And I had a flood in front of my house, and the power went out again last week. I mean, really, like, the city's crumbling, but nobody votes. What can we do to get people to vote more?
Engage in social media and give away free stuff, like all the talk shows do. I mean, I think that's why
people have talked about that. I know you're joking, but they've talked about paying people or giving.
But what's that thing where? What was that? And I know this was true. I think more people voted for one of the seasons of American Idol, the finalists, than they did for their own president.
Yeah.
And also, let's not forget that Obama was able to really activate a young fan base via social media. Aside from the fact that he was an amazing candidate. Yeah. And to speak on to your point about everyone being so upset at him, I mean, whenever I see a poll like this, first, you know, I make up numbers all the fucking time, and I am like, I don't trust I want to know what your sample size was. Usually with a CNN poll, it's like 2,000 people randomly surveyed over the phone, right? Like, if you actually dig into the numbers, you're like, is this really a cross-section of America?
Well, that's why I try not to go too deep into the numbers of the poll, and just the broader discussion.
Well, I mean, in the broader discussion is everyone is going to come at it from their own life experience. So, you know, for me, when I was younger, taxes were not an issue. I don't care, right? And Obama, I'm happy with him. You know why? Because he was the first sitting president to endorse gay rights. I'm like, that's cool. That's all. That was on my agenda. I don't own a business. I don't run shit. You know, I don't.
You got one thing that was important to you.
Yeah. He followed through on his promise to me, so I'm happy with that. I can understand someone else who's like, you know, who owns who I said owns a bunch of people. Well, who oversees a bunch of people. Who oversees a bunch of people, and now Obamacare has screwed up his whole business model. That pissed me off. That would.
Right.
Liberal or not. Yeah.
Do you think part of the apathy is just the way the game is played? So, for example, with immigration now, Obama has already said, well, first off, the Republicans won't play ball on immigration, so he can't get anything passed the way it's supposed to be passed, right? Where Congress writes a law and he signs it. That's the way it's supposed to work. We know that's not going to happen. So now he's trying to do this executive executive action stuff, but he's already said he's not going to do anything till after the election because he doesn't want to hurt Democrats by doing something politically unpopular, which then just shows how screwed up the whole system is. Republicans won't play ball. He is going to have to do something that there's even constitutional questions, and he knows it will be politically unpopular, so he has to wait till like the whole game is so fucked.
You can't do anything. As soon as you get elected, your next job is to get elected again. Your job is not to represent anyone. It's not to pass any laws.
Now, the second time.
Well, yeah, but now he has to have the pressure of being worried about, oh, are you screwing up the midterm election?
Or his legacy.
Yeah.
What is his legacy
What's it going to look like when you're done?
Yeah.
And it's been on headlines like, oh, if I'm trying to get elected in Alaska, Obama's screwing up because I'm a Democrat, and they're going to say, he's just like Obama. So they connect it and look at these numbers, and then it makes it, and by the way, I think people are uneducated on what the system is and how it works, especially when politicians are perpetuating it, coming on TV or just speaking from whatever post they have to say, hey, you know what the president's doing? This president is taking the country, he's being a dictator. It's impossible for him to do it. But then when they want him to be this dictator, you know he's not going over and killing ISIS with his bare hands. Okay, which one is it? Is there a checks and balances system, or is it just him running the country?
Yeah, yes, and as I say it, I'm going to do it. Just every week I've been trying to say this. We have something called separation of powers in this country. So Congress is supposed to write laws, the president is supposed to sign them into law, and then the judicial branch, the courts, are supposed to decide whether they're legal. If we could just apply those basic principles, I think things would be a lot better. But bigger than that, just vote. Just go out and vote. And voting should be a national holiday. That would be,
that was my last point.
Yeah, that would be my solution to this whole thing. Okay. Michigan, I'm not happy with Michigan. They are trying to screw over Tesla. So we've done a bunch of stories on Tesla. Tesla's making these electric cars. They're popping up all over LA here. I see them every day. They are really cool. It's getting us off oil. It is a great system. But Michigan now, Michigan Governor Rick Snyder signed a law that will keep Tesla from selling its cars directly to people. So they basically have these showrooms and they're selling it directly. It's like, I need to start this over. That was a big mess. Okay.
Skim it real quick.
Yeah.
They're galleries.
Right, that's why I said showrooms. It's not a showroom, that's the point. Okay. Okay, so we've done a lot about Tesla on this show. I love Tesla. They're electric cars. They're popping up all over LA. It is hopefully going to get us off oil, which causes all kinds of other problems. But Michigan is now going to try to outlaw Tesla, or at least the way that they are selling Teslas. That's right. Governor Rick Snyder has signed a bill that will keep Tesla from selling its cars directly to consumers. We've got some more info for you. So Michigan is going to become the 5th U.S. state to keep Tesla from easily selling cars directly to consumers, joining Texas, New Jersey, Arizona, and Maryland. In all of those states except Michigan, Tesla operates galleries where consumers can view Tesla cars but cannot discuss prices, take test drives, or order cars. Michigan's gone a step further and will not allow even the informational galleries. Now, I don't know if you know about this, but Detroit is in Michigan, and we make a lot of cars in Michigan, so I'm wondering if maybe the big car manufacturers don't want the little electric guy to come in, and maybe they put some money that got the governor to sign a bill to stop the electric guy. I know I'm a conspiracy theorist. This is the type of shit that drives me crazy, and everything that we do about money in politics, this is it. I mean, we have a good product. We talk about oil all the time.
That helps people.
That helps people. That helps the environment. That could help our foreign policy because we wouldn't be so dependent on awful regimes in the Middle East. All of that stuff. We got a good product, and clearly what is happening here is the money from the big car makers is coming in and saying, wow, you're doing something electric, you're selling directly to the people. We're not going to do it.
This is what happens when you don't plan ahead. When the progressive nature of our world happens and you're not ready. And now, by the way, I fault Rick Snyder, the governor, for doing this.
Yep.
But in a way, I feel like he had to. Not just because of money, partially the money, but also because you're not representing the people of your state anymore. There's workers for these plants, there's workers for Fords and Chevys and Chryslers and Dodges and all this stuff, and they're going to go, you're going to come in and sell us out? You know how much trouble we've been in so much for? I'm trying to keep my job. You're going to destroy my job. And that's what his constituents are saying. And whatever representatives are probably supposed to listen to them. Because, I mean, states are just small versions of countries, right? At least in our country, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But then they have their own little things in the way they operate. But you have to understand that the world is changing. And you have to be ready to set up a system that allows Ford, Chevy, Dodge to change the way they do things so that you're not pushing other companies out, which is illegal.
Right.
And then now you have this problem. So what you should do is maybe right now be like, okay, we're going to let them in, but you guys should understand, I can't keep out normal capitalism from occurring in my state. So you guys are going to have to step up, because these guys are ahead of you. So you need to change the system. But right now he kind of has to accept it, because they're thinking he's going to sell out every constituent that lives there.
Right. So that's a really great point, because it's a philosophical point. Does he do as the governor what's right? What is right, which is allow the free market to go and this clearly what is a good product, let it be sold in a positive way, but at the same time which would hurt his constituents. So we know what his answer is, and actually we know because he already signed the freaking thing. So what do we do about this to help empower Tesla? I mean, we keep seeing things like this. We've done stories on it. Things like Tesla, things like Uber that are getting fought against by the powerful cab lobbies. All this Airbnb, which is being fought against by the hotel lobbies. Things that are great products. I use Uber all the time. I know tons of people that use Airbnb, et cetera, that are getting fought by the machine. And I guess that's your point, that for progressive things to happen, they got to somehow come in and almost through the back and change things first before they really arrive. That wasn't even a question, but what do you got?
I mean, the only thing that you can do to protect these new progressive ideas and inventions I think are going to be laws. I mean, I remember reading that Tesla could sue the state of Michigan if needed, but when it comes to Rick Schneider, this man did it for his safety. Okay, I mean, we're talking Detroit. They still walk around with baseball bats and pipes in Detroit. He did it for his.
They also don't have water in Detroit, so they're really pissed. They're thirsty and angry. Dry spells and everything like that. Yeah. So I understand the man. No, they literally shut the water off in Detroit.
No, I remember. I was here for that
you
story.
Did that right? Okay,
yeah, that was hardcore.
Yeah.
Is it turned back on yet? Do you know?
Well, I don't think it's fully turned back on, but that's a whole other thing.
They're dehydrated. So they're angry and they've got lead pipes and they might lose their jobs. So I understand why Rick decided to do this. But I'm reading the story, I'm like, are we in North Korea or communist? Communist China is a better example, because I remember when the iPod came out and they didn't limit that in any market. And guess what? Every cell phone manufacturer, communications manufacturer had to step up and play catch up to that. And that's totally cool, and we're all better for it. Whereas now China, I went there, I was like, ooh, maybe I can get a cheap iPhone, because they do, I mean, our exchange rate is amazing. Guess what? They did not carry it. They did not, I mean, because they wanted to control that market for themselves. And now, of course, Apple has a place there, but it was all under their terms. Yeah. So Rick, get your act together. You're for the people.
It's this feeling in the country of like, we're Americans, we compete, we win. Capitalism. If you can't stay in, then fuck you, you lost. We have this, it's taught us at 5 years old, Right. But you know what? You got to win the game. And if the game is, if somebody starts running faster, hey, you got to get in the gym.
Yeah.
So there's two parts here. So there's the micro part, which is him having to deal with his own internal politics and getting elected again. And he can't say, all right, I'm doing this thing, and then all his people are going to lose their jobs because they didn't do the proper infrastructure to go electric. So there's that. And then there's the bigger idea, which is where we'd want him to be brave. Because we have this huge problem with oil. So is the electric car actually just like a symbol for a much bigger thing? Like, if we really want to change the country, it starts with oil, right?
I don't think he was thinking that big though when he made that. I just know he probably has a lot of friends who work in the automotive industry who wined and dined him and was like, hey buddy, please. I think it was that personal.
You didn't think he was doing that?
No, he doesn't have big ideas.
You get that good steak and you're like, what am I going to do?
And he's not thinking like I do, because I mean, I like the whole electric car thing. I think we need to be off the thing. But you know what, man? I still love a nice, loud, roaring engine.
That's right.
On an '88 Camaro that I sold that I shouldn't have. But my I like hearing a good roar. If I start my car and it goes, I'm a little bit depressed.
And now you got beeping.
Yeah, I'm a car person. Yeah, exactly.
Electric, and all of these other manufacturers. My last point is they all have electric vehicles and hybrids that they're developing. So step up, guys, because Rick Schneider can only hold this off for so long. This is not going to stay.
I certainly hope that it doesn't stay. And speaking of Tesla, so Elon Musk, who's the founder of Tesla and also the founder of SpaceX, he's done a ton of stuff with artificial intelligence and advanced computers and all that fancy stuff. He is warning us about, let's listen to him directly.
I think we should be very careful about artificial intelligence. If I were to guess at what our biggest existential threat is, it's probably that. So we need to be very careful with artificial intelligence. I'm increasingly inclined to think that there should be some regulatory oversight maybe at the national and international level, just to make sure that we don't do something very foolish. I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Didn't work out.
I take it there will be no HAL 9000 going up to Mars.
HAL 9000 would be easy. It's way more complex than, I mean, it would put HAL 9000 to shame, yeah.
Okay, that's some seriously powerful stuff. Our biggest existential threat is artificial intelligence, and it will be like, quote, summoning the demon. Now, this is from a guy who is doing this stuff. I mean, he really, all his businesses are future businesses. He's leading the charge on this stuff, and he's warning us. This reminds me, I feel like this is like a scene in a movie where they throw back, after the war, the Terminators have taken over, and they're like, remember that guy who said that thing?
There's a broken TV on the ground showing this.
And it's just on loop.
Including a clip from this show about us joking about it.
Exactly.
Right.
I often on this show, because I love these types of stories, and I often talk about how I think that eventually the robots are going to take over. And yes, I've watched enough of the sci-fi movies. It's just in there. It's just a piece. And that doesn't mean we stop technology or stop moving forward or all this future stuff, which is all really cool. But how do we heed a warning from this guy? He's the one that's doing it, right? He's the one that he knows about this. He's one of the primo guys. But how do we acknowledge that it's happening while the technology just keeps moving along? What do we do?
I don't know, man, Dave. I'm not that smart, but I'm telling you right now, watching this video, this man knows something. Okay, he needs to be brought back into a back room and interrogated, because I don't know if he fucked with some artificial intelligent rat that he created in his back room that stole from him. Yeah. On some micro level, and he's like, oh shit. So like the way the gravitas in which he spoke. That scares me.
So
I'm not messing with this.
I agree. It was the matter of factness with which he said it, because he's the one building this, the technology for this stuff, and Google's got Ray Kurzweil and the singularity and all that. But he's one of the ones doing it. So because of that, he said it so calculatingly, like this shit is going down. So humans, enjoy it while you got it, because we got about 10 years left. I think was the subtext.
Yeah, and he even brought up the movies that we see as just, oh yeah, that'll never happen. Yeah. But then again, wasn't joking, wasn't smiling about it. So again, and then they're recreating humans. They've been doing this for a while. And even if you want to go to, you have these innovators, and then you have even people who are more religious. I grew up Christian as well. And then so when you have it, then they think, hey, you know what? You always gotta look out for what you're creating, because then they're gonna come back and get you. In whatever realm you want to bring it back from.
Yeah. That's what my parents say about me.
That's good. That's good.
So it seems like the creation of it is to make a super being. Yeah. And that's what obviously these companies and these corporations, these innovators have said they want to do. And then what do we do with those? What's the point of it?
Can we still control them once we've created them?
Yeah. Do we need to pay more attention to science fiction? Because science fiction usually is about 50 years ahead of what ends up happening, That seems to me to be like a rough arc that you get with this stuff. And all of these movies, so you got, Terminator, what was the Will Smith movie?
iRobot?
iRobot. I was going to say I Am Legend, but I'm sure with Ebola that's going to happen too. Minority Report, they are working on pre-crime kind of stuff. And all this stuff. So science fiction does give us a little bit of a key, right? It always goes to the bad place, I suppose. And maybe we need, could they do a science fiction movie does it ever work out in why does it never work out? Why do the futurists, it never works out?
I feel like in our reality, in our world, I think that there are so many checks and balances, and technology can move such an incremental pace that if something really does prove to be dangerous, they'll shut it down. Like drones from Amazon, right? That's just being beta tested. I don't feel like
but
all
eventually
of a sudden
they're going to become smart enough that they'll shut us down. I think that's the fear.
I feel like though, are we going to wake up one day and really there'll be an army of 100,000 drones trying to kill us all? Like, will that just happen? Or
no, but maybe our houses have all become so futurized that they can start fucking with our ability to lock us in and shut down our internet and all kinds of other stuff.
There's maybe a small group of people.
You tried to go positive. You tried.
I really did.
I guess the first level is before the robots take over, because that sounds so crazy to say. There's people who control. There's like a few people who control those robots. We have our NSA things where they can tap in and activate things with our phones,
and which
that we thought we had control of. Yeah, that's already happening. And then people. There's conspiracy theories about. Our cars are computers now.
My Google Maps knows that we're here right now.
Totally, right? And you can undo that, but it can still be tapped in. So maybe there's a few people that can control your house and your life and your car. and you don't know it.
Yeah, I'm just totally fascinated by this digital stuff. You know, one of the things, there was that Stuxnet virus that was screwing up the Iranian nuclear stuff, and basically through a computer virus that whoever sent it there, they were able to screw up actual physical real world things. You know what I mean? Through a computer virus, they then made, you know, things spin too fast, and it actually caused real explosions. Like, so it's happening right now, and I guess we just have to be aware of it. You have one final scary thought?
No, I'm good.
He's got nothing else. It's scary, but we shall see how it all plays out. Are you a stoner? Do you want to make love with a stoner? Well, guess what? There is a new website just for you. That's right. Los Angeles marijuana entrepreneur Miguel Lozano has launched the world's first marijuana dating site. It is called my420mate.com, and let's take a look at the website right there. So it's a very fancy website. I'm very impressed with the website. I'm just going to read a little bit about it. Miguel says, I was trying to change the stereotype of the average cannabis user. Everyone uses the word stoner, but it's a lifestyle. There's a lot more to it than that. We have teachers, chefs, and computer techs who enjoy the benefits of marijuana. That guy, I bet you could smoke his hair. I'm pretty sure you could smoke his hair. Just a little bit more. So far, there's about 11,000 users, but the founder said they're adding about 100 new people a day. And the profiles are for people from marijuana legal states like California, Colorado, and Washington. Okay, all right, you know, we talk about dating apps all the time. We talk about weed all the time. This just seems natural. I guess there's something kind of funny about, like, I smoke weed, I gotta be with someone that smokes weed. Usually, I think if you smoke weed, you find yourself around people that smoke weed, and you might find somebody that you want to sleep with.
I mean, despite what my hair says, I've never smoked it. I'm not in the community, but I mean, I think it's useful.
You willing to take a lie detector test on that one?
Yes, totally.
Okay.
Can we bring one out?
And I've experienced just from friends, not even the dating part of it, but there's a discomfort sometimes with, oh, you don't smoke? You're like, are you sure? I was at my friend's house. This is in college, and he's like, hey, Jay, you think it's cool if I smoke? I was like, shit, man, it's your house. If I have a problem with it, I should leave, you know? Right. So there's like, they don't want to ruffle any tail feathers or bother anyone else with their weed. And, oh my God, is your clothes gonna smell like it? And I think there's just a comfort level. And it's a lifestyle thing that everyone does, not just smoking and passing the fuck out. Mm-hmm. There's so many different things about it, and I've learned only because I have a lot of pothead friends.
Yeah.
Dude, you need to get your hair cut.
Yeah, really, man. You're representing. You're trying to be in, but
it's a comfort thing.
Yeah. You know, now that we have legal marijuana here, medicinal marijuana, which basically, if you have my shoulder hurts, now you can get weed here in California. Although it is federally still illegal, Obama keeps saying that they're not going to enforce this stuff. But just in West Hollywood, where I live, this week they raided another dispensary. So the feds are still not playing ball the way they imply that they are. Yeah. But what I've noticed is, as it's legal here, I go to parties, there could be a lot of people smoking weed, and nobody cares. There isn't even the slightest stigma attached to it anymore. And to me, it's almost sort of like the gay marriage thing, that it slowly started happening, and then people were like, oh, nothing changed, the devil didn't appear, and we didn't get more earthquakes or hurricanes, and we're all going to be okay. So. What do you think? It's okay, right?
But you know, I think we're lucky because this is the California way, where weed and gay marriage is pretty darn cool. I mean, I went to college in the Midwest, where if you said "gosh darn" to the wrong person, I mean, it was an uproar for that whole you couldn't go to that section of the room anymore for the rest of the night. Yeah. Personally, I would like to know if someone's into weed because I want to know who can't get it up at night. I want to know. I want to know who did not.
There's a weed for that.
There's a weed for that. Oh, really?
There's a weed for everything.
You're not going to have a conversation. No,
there's a weed for everything.
I partake recreationally, but it's not my thing. So I
have terrible glaucoma.
Really?
Horrible glaucoma. It's the only way I can.
Do you have the bracelet?
I don't wear it obviously on the show.
But you
dangle back pain and several pretty severe medical conditions.
Hey man, if it makes you happy, right? Yeah. Sheryl Crow. There you go.
Is there something funny about that? There's a weed website. Now you don't have an alcoholics website, right? So there's something there. But does that show you maybe that weed is better somehow, right? If there was a website for alcohol, well, I don't say alcoholics, but just I drink a lot, website, people would think that's really weird. This one doesn't strike me as
we
weird.
call those bars.
Or eHarmony.
Or a lot of alcoholics on eHarmony.
Because they're all closeted, because they can't actually date the same gender on eHarmony.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the alcohol.
Oh, they can. That's all banned.
Wait, is it fixed now?
I have no idea. I've never.
Yeah, eHarmony.
They got into a lawsuit or something.
They're run by Christians. I don't know if they.
Yeah,
I haven't checked in recently on the eHarmony, but yeah.
But really, could this only work with weed? If there was a booze one, they're not going to have illegal drugs. I guess they can't do it that way.
It's because, again, like you said, it's being accepted. And even people act like it's not accepted. Oh my God, you smoke? Really, in the back of their head, they're not afraid of this person. They don't think this person is going to run and like start a fight with them. You know, there's still the fear without any real evidence behind it. You're like, oh man, you smoke, you must do what now? Because before it was
clearly you would cuddle under the blanket, you would hike, you would the reading. Nobody reads when they're high. Nobody. Do you see them reading a book? These people were way too freaking alert.
They're having a hell of a time. They're out there on the beach, wandering around.
I didn't see a joint in any one of their hands. Not a single one.
We're still not showing that.
That's
part.
right. That's right.
Show that.
All right, let's move on. Flying. You know, I've talked about this a bunch of times. I don't love to fly. It's very unnatural for me to be in a metal thing up there, and it's shaking, and I don't love it. But I do it. I've managed to do it. Well, now the planes of the future are slowly being revealed, and I'm completely fascinated by this. The Center for Process Innovation has released a video of what they say the plane of the future is going to look like. Let's take a look.
What if you could enjoy the journey, not just the destination? If removing the windows could open your eyes more than ever before, reducing weight and reducing cost for you and for the manufacturer. Our technologies can support the development of aircraft fuselage that are thinner, lighter and stronger. With wider seating for passengers, lower fuel consumption and reduced CO2 emissions. With live video streamed to vivid OLED displays offering seamless panoramic views and entertainment, information and in-flight services at your fingertips. It's time to start your journey your way.
Okay, so it's kind of like the Tesla of airplanes, which we talked about Tesla before. Pretty cool. The part that freaked me out was the part when the whole plane became the clouds. That's like Wonder Woman, invisible plane shit, and I don't know that I could deal with that. So the greenness, right? We're all on board the green part of this. Pretty cool. Would you want to fly and feel that you're actually seeing what's right there outside?
I don't think I'd be on the first flight. I'd be on the second.
Yeah.
I want to make sure the test runs go well. Make sure all the problems that they said, oh my God, this one exploded because our thinner.
I'll do 2.0.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thinner sounds good.
Our thinner fuselage is a little too thin. I don't want to be on that one. But I mean, I'm telling you, the best part about flying is the flying, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't want to be entertained by. I mean, I can be at home and watch my movies on my Netflix. I want to see the flight. I
hate the window.
I'm in the window seat with the visor up, and the person that's the Dave Rubin that's next to me is going, oh Jesus, please put the fucking thing down. It's too bright outside.
Yeah.
And I want to sleep even though it's 3 in the afternoon. So I mean, I never understand those people. I understand there's different kinds of people, but man, the flight is lovely to me. I love it.
You know what? I respect that. I am not a religious person. I have prayed to every god known to man when I've been on planes. Like, I go through the gamut just to make sure everything's going to be okay. What do you think about these fancy?
I'm with you. I love flying, and I'm a frequent flyer. I'm on the road 60, 70 days out of the year. But this video, that scares the bejesus out of me. I'm telling you, you better have a medic on every single one of those planes, because what I'll do is I'm going to wake up from a nap, and those first 3 seconds, I'm going to open my eyes, and I'm going to be like, ah! And someone who's 80 is going to have a heart attack. I will have a heart attack.
Can you imagine if those digital walls, if they just freaked out and they just stopped working for a second, and then you're just surrounded by black, and then you're just up there in a tin black can with no windows? I mean, it just seems, look, progress, right?
The perils of flying, like turbulence, would get a little worse.
Because
you are seeing, when you make that drop, you're seeing how much you're dropping in the sky. That might be a problem.
I actually think that could be the reverse, because because what people have tried to explain when I say I don't really like to fly, people say, well, actually, if you really understood what's happening, when you get that little drop feeling, it means nothing. It's the slightest, 1 inch of the plane doing this, but you feel a lot. So maybe if you saw it, it might be the reverse. I have no idea, and
that makes sense.
I don't know if I'll find out.
Do you think it'll be like a desktop wallpapers where it's like, oh, this is the jungle flight, guys. Right. Hey, this is like, we have like a brand deal with like Super Mario Brothers, and we're like in a pipe for this flight.
Yeah,
like, wouldn't that be fun?
Accidentally put porn on there. I mean, anything, that could be the next thing.
Holy cow.
Holy cow.
Oh my goodness.
All right, we got one more for you. I thought this was pretty cool. So on Kickstarter, these people released something called the NoPhone. Now, we talk about this a lot also, this phone addiction. So this is the NoPhone. Now, it says $13,000 there that they've raised. As of this morning, last I saw, it was about $17,000. And let's show a video of the NoPhone before I tell you what it is. This is a video of the NoPhone. Yeah, that's the video they have on the Kickstarter. That's it. A picture and that. They've raised $17,000. All it is a piece of plastic that replicates your phone, because we all suffer from this phone addiction. So if you don't want the actual technology in the pocket and the ability to Instagram your food at every freaking meal, well, this is sort of a way of weaning you off of that. And $17,000 for a piece of plastic, and they're going to make it, and they're going to send it to these people. This actually struck me as kind of cool. Like, it's obviously silly, of course, but you know, we do a lot on the technology addiction. Your phone is on the table right now. I'm sure yours is in your pocket. They take mine before the show.
But Dave, I need this phone. I need
no, I know.
Here.
Anything
I
could,
need it. Yeah.
Anything could happen at any moment. I know. But something. Do you feel we need to be weaned off this stuff a little bit? I've been saying it for a couple weeks now. I've been trying the thing where I don't look at my phone in the morning in bed. I get up. For a while, I realized, wow, I was 20 minutes. And I'm just looking at my phone. I'm off that. I'm off doing it at night. But do you think something like this could actually help people separate from the digital world that we're in all the time?
I think so, because I mean, I'm proud that I've run those tests on myself, you know, and I don't think I'm that bad. That's the thing. So I think I'm somewhere in the middle where I actually don't have the urge to always do it. But again, when you're out at restaurants, when you're eating, it really does take away from your interaction with human beings. And this is where we start sounding like old people and say, you know, back in my day, we used to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And so I want to avoid coming off like that, because I think there should be a happy medium. But if there's just a blank plastic thing, which I understand this is somewhat of a joke, if there's a blank plastic thing, I mean, I don't love just holding my fucking phone. That's the annoying part. Where the technology is going to go is where I don't have to hold anymore. I can just put this screen in front of my face and my hands can be free. That's what, like, the holding part is the most annoying part.
Yeah.
We want the technology.
Do you guys think we're kind of afraid of our own thoughts at this point? That's what I've noticed. Like, if you see someone waiting on a corner for somebody, you're going out for dinner with somebody. In the old days, and I don't want to sound like that guy either, but in the old days, you would just say, I'm meeting you on the corner, I'll be there. And then if that person was late, well, you didn't have a phone, and you'd stand on the corner, and you might think about some shit, or look around, and see some people, and people watch, which I still love to do. But now, the inclination immediately is to go to your phone, not have a moment with yourself. Is that more that we're addicted to this thing, or we're at the point where we're like afraid to just have a thought, like just stand there and have a thought?
Yeah, I love that point. I mean, I'm with you though, Dave, and I really can't do the phone in the bed anymore after dropping it on my own face too many times. You know that time when you're like, and I almost
could crack a phone on your hair, by the way.
I crack, yeah, it's gonna crack my screen. Yeah. I actually looked at it. I considered buying one. It's $15 per phone. I was like, this is fun. Like, I'm sure part of it is the gimmick of like, oh, Christmas stocking stuffers, but there's a lot to be said about not people numbing themselves. I think humans. I'm not gonna say just Americans. Humans like to avoid feeling pain or sadness or any kind of vulnerability. So this is why we drink and why we do drugs and why we smoke, because it's a vice. It's something to distract us from ourselves. And sometimes that's not healthy, because no matter what you're distracting yourself from, it's still gonna stay in there. It's still gonna, it won't go away.
How long do you think you could go without your phone? If we took that phone out of your pocket, you have that big ass phone. You may not be on it all the time, but that thing's like a boat. Yeah, look at that.
When our powers combine, man.
Oh, Jesus, you both have.
Here we go.
Man, I'm having phone something. Mine's a
envy.
I'm having phone envy. How long do you think you can go without it?
I've tried to think of this before, too. And the thing is, I have gone those stretches where I actually didn't do it. It feels like an hour or two, and my phone is filled with notifications saying, where the fuck are you? What's going on? Where have you been? I'm like, oh, shit.
I sent you a message. You didn't immediately respond.
Exactly.
Those are just the girlfriends.
I feel like...
He's a married man.
Maybe, and it's just the same amount of messages. I could go a day.
A day? One day. How long could you go? I've been out to lunch with you. It's an Instagram, and you're on
I always put that one and then I put it down.
Yeah,
you
that's
notice
true. We're
that,
good. We're
right?
good.
I'm pretty good about that. So if it's a day, like a normal day for me, I mean, literally, like right now, I have not looked at my alerts or whatever. I mean, I can go for a couple of hours. But you know what I do enjoy? I do enjoy having permission to not be on my phone. So if I'm on vacation, if I'm going away, if I'm about to hit a flight, I love flying for that reason, because even though there's now go-go Wi-Fi, not available, guys, sorry, 8 hours. But I do not look forward to landing and getting 20 emails and 13 text messages and 4 voicemails in my, but I like having the away thing. Hey guys, on Facebook, hey guys, please tweet at me because I'm gonna be away and
it's
where,
very important, business of business.
Right.
Bring us home, Jayar.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I feel like we can eliminate some of the apps. You don't have to have everything that the phone comes with.
Yep.
So I don't have all of my email connections on there. I don't check it all the time, so it can't bother me. I don't send the notifications when someone tweets at me or when someone Facebooks me. I have to go find it. And then a lot of those, my phone was filled with apps, and I said, why are these on here? I've never used any of these. I just eliminated 15 to 20 apps, and it just clears up your space a little bit.
All right, well, listen, I don't know what he's babbling on about, but don't forget to follow me on Facebook.com/Dave Rubin. That's Instagram.com/Rubin Report, Twitter.com/Rubin Report, YouTube.com/Rubin Report. I got off the Snapchat. Am I on anything else? That's pretty much it. That's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll do it again next week.